Movies used to be special. You'd go to the theater, you'd wander the video store. Sometimes you'd pick up a film that you knew nothing about and discover something you couldn't wait to tell everyone else about. Today, we have access to more movies than ever before. We have reviews, trailers, and algorithms telling us what we should watch, and a lot of times telling us what happens before we watched. So with all those choices, is it harder to maintain that sense of discovery? My friend Matt Huntley has been a movie fan for most of his life. He studied film, he worked in the entertainment industry, and he's been writing movie reviews for the past 20 years. So I wanted to ask him, when you've spent that much of your life around movies, how do you keep the magic alive? Pull up a chair. Let's question everything. Matt, thanks for joining me for this episode of Question Everything. I'm going to start right at the beginning because we're talking films and whatnot. So, do you remember the first film that you ever saw, or the film that made you excited about film?
Yes. Well, first, thanks for having me. And two, I do remember the first film I ever saw, which was the Care Bears movie, early in 1980s, and I come from a little town, kind of Stafford, New York, and right neighboring that is Leroy, New York, which is the home of Jell-O, for anyone out there who wants to Google it.
Which, real quick, I would just say, if you have not been to the Jell-O Museum in Rochester, you should go. It is.
And the Jell-O Museum's actually in Leroy.
Oh, it's in Leroy.
So it's right across the street from my high school. So,
okay.
But they had the Leroy Theater, which is just a single movie house, and that's where I saw Care Bears. But it wasn't Care Bears that got me hooked on movies. I think it was probably the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies, that series, specifically Superman 2. And I could pivot my camera here. I don't have Superman 2 in here, but I have the original Superman. But I loved that series. And then from there, it kind of compounded with seeing at a very young age, well, it's still my favorite movie of all time, which is Lucas from 1986 with Corey Haim. And from there, I was just hooked. I was hooked on stories, helping me make sense of the world, and just in a very fond memories of watching movies with my brothers and my family, and just going to the movies and that smell of popcorn, and I was just hooked, and I have been ever since. Yeah, and it's just been a part of me.
Did you have family nights, movie nights, like going out to the movies on a regular basis, or?
Not a regular basis, but when we did, it was very special. We would go to that Leroy Theater, and I remember taking our own popcorn in to see Peter Pan when it was re-released. And then from there, I also remember seeing there, Edward Scissorhands with my brother Mark, and then Ninja Turtles 2, and the original Ninja Turtles as well. And it was just the thing to do. I mean, that's a small town, and video was still kind of in its early stages. And it was a real treat for us to go to a multiplex when they were first kind of coming around. So, but when we did go, it was really special, but we did rent a lot of movies, and we rented our first VCR as well from the supermarket. And so,
Yeah, that was going to be my question is, did you purchase the VCR first, or do you remember renting VCRs when you could rent them in addition to the videotapes? Because that was my introduction as well to rentals. Is you would go, and I think it was like $5 for the VCR and $1 for the tapes, and you'd rent them for the weekend. And then I bought. This can show you how much times have changed. I actually bought the family's first VCR in 1986 because I had a paper route at the time, so I was making money. So I'm like, I'm going to buy a VCR, and I took out a loan from the bank because the VCR cost a little over $300. So.
And you took out a loan. How old
I took out a loan. Yeah, I was 12. I mean, my parents co-signed for it,
okay.
But it was like to start building up my credit. And yeah, it was. $300 for a VCR, which when DVD players came out, you could get a DVD VCR combo for like $30. So
yeah. And did it have like the tape deck that came out like this?
It did not. It was just it was a
Okay.
front loading deck, yeah, and it
Okay.
had a wireless remote, which I had friends that had ones that
Wow.
had a wired remote, and I'm like, wired remotes are kind of pointless because you still have to be so close to the VCR. But yeah,
Yeah.
and so I guess that's the next step is in addition to the theater is home movies, and I
Mhm.
guess you were saying like, do you remember? I'm guessing your family did eventually buy a VCR.
We did. Yeah. Yeah. I think we probably rented the VCR from the grocery store at least 3 times before we got into one of
Okay.
our own. Yeah. And then I remember back in the day too, you could rent movies from from so many random places. I
Yeah.
think this was pre-Blockbuster. I forgot what year Blockbuster actually came around. But wherever we rented our VCR from, like I said, with the grocery store, they would have those spinning racks of just very limited selection of videos.
Hmm.
And yeah, you could rent videos from every which way. And I remember my parents got theirs. They rented Pretty Woman, which I think was actually a pink VHS tape
Okay.
back in the day. And I remember they rented Ghost too, which was all white. They were all usually black,
Yeah.
right? But like they would come out with like the I guess the branded versions too, and like my brothers and I would rent movies like man, probably like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, all the typical ones from
Hmm.
back in the day. Yeah, and Karate Kid a million times. But yeah, once we got the VCR, it was kind of yeah, just constant. That then became the routine. Friday night, Saturday night, get tapes, return them the next day, be kind, rewind, that kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah, it
Okay.
was great. Loved it.
Yeah, it's a great time. Yeah, yeah. I remember I was in college the first time I saw a Blockbuster because I'm from a small town in Illinois.
Yeah,
Um, so we just had like the convenience store, the grocery store, and
yeah.
one or two video rental shops. We did not
Hmm.
have we didn't have Family Video, Circus or not Circus, Hollywood, anything, any of the big names. It was all
Right.
local, um, and sadly those are now mostly gone.
Yeah, it is
So
sad.
yeah, so you're obviously into film. You eventually moved to LA, to the LA area. So what was that inspiration? Because I've said for me, once I saw Star Wars, I knew I wanted to work in the entertainment industry, but I had no idea how to do that. So my fallback plan was to be a lawyer. And when I
Well,
found out that how much schooling you had to go through, and it's not just going into courtrooms and arguing cases,
yeah.
it's not what Hollywood and television shows you being a lawyer is.
Hmm.
That was my first introduction into how much of a lie the industry is. But so then I
Right.
said, screw it, I'm going to try to figure out how to work in entertainment, and I did. So
Yeah.
what was your journey? How did you end up in LA?
Well, so I always imagined myself, at a very young age, I imagined myself being an actor. And then that kind of subsided in, when my high school would put on musicals, I was a lot more drawn to behind the scenes, like the sets and like the lighting and the making, contributing to the production, but not being on stage. And it wasn't stage fright or anything like that. I like being more hands-on. And I had always loved movies, and I know you're wearing a Touchstone picture shirt right now, but I would actually draw out on white paper what my film credits would look like. And I drew exactly what's on your shirt on the front of a piece of paper, and I showed my dad, and I had memorized by that point too, like the order of the credits that come on. I think it goes producer, writer, and then finally director. And so that spark came about in grade school, and it just became kind of like a rolling, like a snowball, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger until I found out that there were film schools. And so I think I was about a junior in high school when Ithaca College had a pretty renowned communication school, specifically cinema and photography. And I was like, why not? I'm really into it. I could see myself being into it, and kind of making short films. And I saw too that they had like an internship program out in LA, and it was totally mythological to me at that point, being from a small town in New York. And so, yeah, as soon as I went to Ithaca and kind of got my hands dirty with the actual equipment and kind of delved a bit more into kind of what opportunities were out in LA by way of internships and this LA program that Ithaca put on. I did a summer internship in LA in 2003, and then I was hooked. I was hooked by the city. I was hooked by the culture, the film culture, the constant billboards everywhere. I was in heaven, and it was just like it was like living in a video store, and like kind of that giddy feeling, or being in the lobby of a movie theater with that smell of popcorn all the time. It was just constant, and I loved it. And but I think just to give some context of why I didn't end up going into film production and kind of doing more of the post thing like you yourself did was. Film production's really hard, and it's really boring. It can be, and it's cutthroat.
Yes,
And yeah, I was on a couple of features as an intern, and people treated you kind of like garbage, and like when you're the lowest on the totem pole. And it is just a lot of waiting around. And I had to be honest with myself. Like, there's one thing making student films at Ithaca. There's another being in Hollywood and being on the lowest rung of the ladder. It's like I'm not into this anymore. I can't make a living doing this, and I don't want to make a living doing this. So I knew I wanted to stay in LA, but I wanted to do something where I get to kind of watch movies and be a part of the finished product versus making the product. Yeah. So I had to be honest with myself about that, though.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because I've worked on one film. I've done a couple of TV show as PA work, and it's not glamorous.
No.
It's a lot of hurry up and wait, and it's 12, 15-hour days where you just, again, by the time you're done, you're just like, okay, I'm done. I'm over it.
Yeah.
And unless I think unless you have the personality to somehow work your way up, which, like I said, for me, I'm not. It's a weird thing having this discussion series going. I'm not one that really likes small talk and likes to, have. I was going to say sacrificial, and that's a weird word to use in LA, but in Hollywood, but superficial. That's the word, not sacrificial. Although, again, depending on your status, the superficial conversations to try to be friends with people, and then use them for my own gain. And so I think that I'm with you, and that's how I ended up going more into a post world because it was one just happenstance when I moved to LA that all my connections were in the post world. So I started doing that. But again, even that was not as exciting as one would think. And I think, that's an issue with, I was talking with my friend Jeremy on the last episode about like how the sausage is made. When you see how the sausage is made, does it kill the interest in the product as well? And I know you worked for a studio as well. So I'll just go in that direction. Did working in the industry, did it kill what effect did it have on your fandom?
Yeah, it only elevated it, honestly,
Okay.
because as much as I would watch the same titles over and over again, and I knew how the ancillary markets, like Blu-ray, DVD, and how that sausage was made, despite seeing all that and constantly being around it, no matter what, I would still escape to go to AMC Century City, the ArcLight, all the great theaters around LA.
Yeah.
I never tired of it. And even though I knew that it was probably dirty underneath the surface, I still, there's just something about that finished product that's still very attractive to me, and just it still kind of allows me to just make sense of the world. And I can't deny that. And, part of me feels a little bit guilty of that because I know how much people, like you said, sacrifice for that product and probably get stepped on for that product. But I still love it, and I always have. And even when I'd be working 12-hour days sometimes at Sony or other places, finding that showtime at any local theater, I mean, it was just heaven to me, and it still is. And so it only my fandom has never ceased. Basically, it never kind of died down. It's definitely evolved in terms of my tastes and being more selective with titles. I used to go to everything, and you and I used to go to everything when you come on the Sony lot and we'd see anything that was out, good, bad, or
free movies are the best. Yes,
free movies are the best, and I think just for a medium to still have the power to take me away and be still so, it's the last thing I go to at night. Whether it's on streaming or I still get DVDs out of the library, it's still the last thing I go to at night, and it still just makes me feel safe. As silly as that sounds, at the very end of the night, it just makes me feel like the world makes sense again. In spite of everything that's going on in 2026. Yeah.
All right. When did you start writing reviews?
In college. So I started writing. So I went to Ithaca College. They had a newspaper. It was called the Ithacan, and I started in my junior year. And the first movie review I wrote was Swim Fan, if you remember that, from 2002. Yeah. And I remember. I guess it should just a quick sidebar. Have you ever listened to the Rewatchables?
I have not.
It's a podcast with Bill Simmons, and anyway, one of the hosts of that show also went to Ithaca. But I remember Sean Fennessy is his name. He read my first draft of my Swim Fan review, and he's a film buff himself. He's like, Matt, your film review of Swim Fan looks pretty solid. And I had never written a film review before, but I had just read a ton of Roger Ebert's reviews and listened to a ton of Siskel and Ebert debates, and I was a huge fan of that show. And it just kind of rolled off my tongue, so 2002 was my first review, and I've been doing it steadily ever since, and it's definitely one of my favorite hobbies still.
I know you still, like you said, write. You'll post your reviews online. I think the obvious is, do you see then on a weekly basis whatever the new hot film is supposed to be for the week, or are you more selective with what you're reviewing?
A little bit of both. Still the hot one. So, 2 days ago, I saw The Odyssey, and a couple weeks before that, it was Toy Story 5. But just because, and I think just to stay up on the movie beat, I know these are very mainstream, and there's so much other options out there, but I still get sucked in by that Hollywood magnet. And also, I think, I don't think a whole lot of people are reading my reviews, to be honest with you, but it still is. It's practice for me to be a better writer, and to, just on a writing level, look up synonyms, look out for different ways to phrase things, find my own voice, and should anyone read my stuff, I think they would be drawn to those hot ticket items mostly. I think, if I was to review, say, the new Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary on HBO, they're not going to really be so much drawn to that as they would be, like The Odyssey, for example.
Yes.
So I still get sucked in by all the flair and all of the populism. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Roger Ebert. I was going to say, have you watched Beyond the Valley of the Dolls?
I've watched The Valley of the Dolls, the original, but I have not seen the sequel. And did he write the original, or did he just write the sequel? No, he wrote the sequel.
Okay, yeah.
And I did want to just kind of shout this out. It's funny that you contacted me this year, because I just read this book this year. I highly recommend it to you if you haven't read it.
I've read it.
But it chronicles just Roger and Siskel and Ebert's plight, and how they kind of really carved out that space. And I think it ends on a bittersweet note in that it's just, I don't think we'll ever have that space again. I don't think we'll ever have a live movie review show, or rather a live action movie review show anymore. It's just competition's too fierce. But I've not seen Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, but it's in my queue, and thanks to this book. Yeah.
I would say just move it out of the queue and move on.
Okay.
Because I said after I saw that, I'm like, the guy who wrote this is critiquing other films. Like, I don't know, but that book was interesting. I didn't realize how much Siskel and Ebert didn't get along.
I know.
I mean, pre-internet, you see them do the review show, and they seem to enjoy each other's company in the balcony, and it was great. But I read that book, and then I started watching the documentary about Ebert, which I can't recall what name. And I think the documentary and the book pretty much hit the same beat.
Yeah.
So if you read one or seen the movie,
Yeah, Life Itself, and I have a poster of that here too. And it was fascinating. And I agree with you too, because now when you go back on YouTube and watch Siskel and Ebert reviews like I do, just for fun, and you listen to them, and after reading this book, you're like, wow, there's a lot of animosity under that. And I thought it was interesting too, just a quick sidebar of how Ebert talked about that he didn't even know Siskel was sick when he had his brain tumor, and then suddenly he's told one day, oh, by the way, Gene's going to be doing the broadcast from his hospital room. He's like, what? So, but I thought was really interesting. So, it's a shame I don't think we'll ever have that kind of reverence for film criticism again, or that kind of high-profile film criticism ever again, because everyone's a critic now.
Yeah, and I think that's much like having too much content to sit through or decide what to watch.
Yeah.
Now, especially with the rise of YouTube, there are so many reviewers and critics out there that is there anybody that you watch that that you'll watch and know, okay, whatever their opinion is, my opinion is pretty much on par with them, or not? Maybe the case.
Yes. So,
do you put stock in reviews?
Yes and no. Yes, in that I read any movie that I see. I'll go to RogerEbert.com and read the review, the correspondent, whoever the reviewer is. I'm not tied to any specific reviewer, but I love getting their perspective, and it helps me be a better writer and a better reader, because a lot of the times their reviews are pretty sophisticated. They use a lot of great lexicon and vocabulary, and I'm constantly have dictionary.com up right next to it, because they'll be writing something that I don't know the meaning of. I'd say I'm most locked in step, well, sometimes old Ebert, of all his reviews. He and I pretty much see eye to eye. And then Brian Tallarico on RogerEbert.com. He and I pretty much see things, I think, pretty much the same as well. And then other reviewers at Odie Henderson, he's at RogerEbert.com. But I'm not finding myself outside of old Siskel and Ebert clips watching any film reviews, like on YouTube or anything. So, how about yourself? Do you watch any people who just broadcast themselves?
Not a whole lot. I mean, there might be some, if there's a film that I'm really curious about, or trying to decide if I want to watch it or not, I may watch somebody. Or like right now, because The Odyssey just came out, and I was going to ask you, I am not a Nolan bro. I think the best review, the best comment that I've ever heard about Christopher Nolan was from the Red Letter Media guys. I hope this is a quote from them, or I could just be making it up, but it's Christopher Nolan is the pretentious fan's Michael Bay. And I think his films try to be important, but if they are or not is in the eye of the beholder. But so The Odyssey, I've had zero interest in, but the reviews seem to be seemingly either all in, like greatest movie ever made, or oh my gosh, this is so terrible because of casting and wokeness. And it's like, surely there's somewhere in between those two. And so I was wondering if you've read any other reviews of the Odyssey, if you've seen the same thing, or if it's.
It's
just
funny you said I
my
never
afternoon.
read reviews before seeing a movie.
Mhm.
I love to go in completely cold. And I actually time it just right for my house now in Maryland that I know when I can leave my house that I'm going to get at the movie when all the previews are just about done.
Yeah.
And I can just walk in completely cold, not see previews. I never go online I'll get random emails from Rotten Tomatoes, Fandango, and I just hurry up and delete. 'Cause I don't want to know anything going in. But funny you should say that because I find myself in that middle ground of the Odyssey. I'm going to give it 3 out of 4 stars. It's good, but it's not great. It's superb production values, right? But like, it's not always exciting. It's too long, and it has that typical. It's a typical Christopher Nolan movie in that it's almost got that constant techno beat behind it, like The Dark Knight had and what Oppenheimer had. It's like it never ceases to feel like you're in almost like a club in a way. I don't know if you recall that from Oppenheimer or Dark Knight. It's just like it's constantly going, and there's not a lot of time left for quiet reflection. But I'm not a Nolan bro either, and I think one of the things about film criticism too is it has humbled me in that if someone comes along and tells me they haven't seen Star Wars or The Godfather, I'm not going to like drop my jaw and be like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, how dare you? Because there's so many. Not everyone has access to movies. Not everyone can afford movies, and I think that we all just have to kind of remember that movies are a gift, and not everyone has that luxury to afford them, and everyone has access to different kinds of movies and from all over the world, and it's like let's not judge each other by let's not put each other in movie camps or be tribalistic about what movies we see. It's just I think that's one of the things I love, that there's so many different kinds of movies, and that movie criticism has sparked in me really trying to see things, despite not writing reviews for every movie that I see, but I feel like I have to be learned in all different kinds of movies, and not just the popular ones, and not just the ones that are high profile and that have a large viewership. And I really go out of my way to see movies like that. I'll be thinking of something to stream, and recently I did High Plains Drifter. Have you ever seen that?
I'm familiar with it, but no, I have not seen
Sure.
it. And I think that's an issue. Real quick, jump in is that especially now, these films are 40, 50 years old, 60, in some cases. To expect everyone to have seen them, is a bit much. I mean,
it is.
Yes, obviously, Star Wars, huge influence in my life. And if someone says like, "Oh, I haven't seen Star Wars," well, I mean, how old are you? And also, what because I was a cinephile growing up and watching it, as many films as I could. Other people actually had lives and friends and were doing things. So, I think that tribalism, sadly, in fandom across all spectrums, entertainment, sports, music, whatever, is, and also being older. I don't want to necessarily say wiser, but it's got to the point where it's like that isn't an argument to be had.
You're right.
Like, oh my gosh, you haven't seen it. It's just like, okay, you haven't seen it. Well, hey, if you get a chance, check it out. But
sure, right. Why can't it be just as simple as that? Why do we have to be like, there's something wrong with you, right?
Right.
And,
and I think with the amount of content that's out there in the streaming and the accessibility now, I'm going to try to stay, again, I've said this on a few other episodes, I try to stay away from politics in the show because that's just, we don't have that much time to go over everything. But I feel like one of the reasons why we're so fixated, it seems, on politics right now is that's the only shared real-time experience. So like when it comes to movies, again, Oppenheimer just came out, or not Oppenheimer, the Odyssey just came out, but whereas 20 years ago, everybody would have been going out to see it, and it's doing well, and it's not like people aren't going, but there are people that are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to wait until it comes up home and I can watch it on a streaming service. Or, you know, same way with television shows. It used to be Thursday nights, everybody watched Friends, and now it's like, yeah, I'll wait until the series is over and then I'll binge it. And do you, I guess, in your conversations with other friends or even in your writing with reviews, is that something you've noticed as well? Or do you think that's, there's that shift in fandom of not having the same shared experience at the same time?
I do, and it kind of worries me that collective experience is going away, and that's really saddening to me. Sad to me. Because I have such fond memories of so many movie theaters, specifically in LA, being packed all the time. It honestly didn't even matter what movie it was.
Yeah.
I think the culture there just was fertile for so many different types of audiences that if you were to go into the ArcLight and go to, I think there was this Keira Knightley period piece once, even that drew huge crowds in that type of theater. And nowadays, if you were to go to a movie like that, or even kind of a mid-level popular movie, like most of the time throughout the year, so not summer and not December, I'll be the only one in there, and but that has not affected my fandom. But I think it has affected the greater cultures, and I worry about that we're isolating ourselves more, and that I'm trying to kind of bridge this to kind of fandom events, like say like a Comic-Con or something like. Are we? I don't know if we're all just growing more and more insular. But I know that I have to proactively fight it. I have to say, I could be like that and say, I'm going to wait for the Odyssey to come out on streaming in probably, 8 weeks? And, but I have to fight that. And I have to say, okay, I have to spend this $11 to go see a movie for my own mental health. I think it's going to become that. Like, it's sort of, to upkeep my fandom, I have to really go out of my way to do it now. Because otherwise, I don't think I would. And I think it would be dangerous if I didn't. That I would just kind of shrink down into myself, and because my wife, Leora, she's not going to watch these movies with me. She would never sit through the Odyssey or any science fiction movie or horror movie, and so it's weird. Like fandom that used to be a thing that you had to regulate, but now I feel like I have to regulate it, and I have to be proactive about it. It just doesn't just fall on me anymore. I don't know about yourself, but
no, I don't watch movies the way that I used to, and I'm repeating from previous episodes. If you've watched all the episodes, thank you. I appreciate it. But over the last between 2020 and 2024, I can't remember if I emailed you about this during those years. Because I was working from home, I made a list of the top 100 films from 1980 to 2019, crossed off all the ones that I had seen, and then spent 4.5 years filling in the gaps. So I have watched so many movies in the last 4 years that I think that partly killed the interest in movie, because now when I go to watch something on streaming, I'm like, seen it, or not. But I think also, films are too long.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a factor of getting older and having other things going on in my life. But when a movie is 3 hours and you have 20, 30 minutes of previews and you have to go to the theater, like you're having to carve out a good chunk of your day to go see a film.
Right.
And also the last movie that I did go see at the theater a couple weeks ago was Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it. It was fun. I don't expect it to be sweeping the Oscars next year, but again, for entertainment value, it had it. But at the same point, I was just like, okay, that's the end of Act 1. That's the end of Act 2. This is the beat that it's going to hit. Like,
Yeah.
to me, the films are just so formulaic, I hope I'm saying that correctly, that they're boring now. And I think maybe that's where, and again, I haven't seen The Odyssey yet, but reading about it, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Nolan plays around with timeline shifts and flashbacks. And I made the reference on the last episode about Pulp Fiction. I think that's one of the reasons it was, it worked, is because it has all the beats, just not in the proper order. It's kind of like jazz. And so, because again, you watch movies from a critical eye as well, do you ever think, okay, let's just get on with the next beat because we know where this is going to go. We know that, hero's going to win at the end. We don't need 30 minutes of downtime to get there. And do you think there's a way screenwriters can invigorate a screenplay?
Yeah. Well, first to answer, I first have a quick question. When you said all the top movies from that list, do you mean the top grossing?
Yes.
From that list
top grossing from the year. Yeah. So 100 movies per year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
in calendar year releases too. So if a movie was released at the end of 81 and made a lot of money in 82, it only counted for 81.
So were you doing 100 movies from a single calendar year? No, so
it's 4,000 films. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I think I needed to do about 1900 that I hadn't seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to look it up, to point out to you. One of the interesting facets was from 1980 to 89. I believe, and I may have the numbers backwards on this, I think there were 17 films in the top 10 from 80 to 89. There were 14 to 17 films that were sequels or part of a franchise, like a James Bond film.
Sure.
From 2010 to 2019, there were 14 or 17 films that were not franchise or IPs. So
yeah. So, well, that kind of leads me to to answer your question about the films being such a template now. I don't know that it's ever not going to be. I have hope that there's going to be little. I don't know if you've had a chance to see Obsession or Backrooms, but you're seeing here and there, I think, these young filmmakers with very small budgets, because they have to be small these days if they're going to fund them on their own or seek funding. At least in my opinion, I'm not kind of knee deep in the industry anymore. But I think those little ones, in terms of the big ones, because they make a lot of money, they at least give me hope that Hollywood is going to continue to ride the template wave. It's always going to. I don't think we're ever going to see where there's the majority of films don't follow a formula. It's just not. But I think we are going to see more and more smaller films come out that challenge that formula, and that gets me really excited. And I think that that's enough to offset. For every Masters of the Universe, which I haven't seen, but I really want to, for every one of those that comes out, I think for every 5 Masters of the Universes, if there's at least one obsession in there, something that's challenging, it's not terribly challenging, but it's challenging enough that it breaks rules. If there's one of those, then I'm good, because like just as we age, I think we become kind of less fans in a way, just by virtue of getting older and having more responsibilities. And, I have a lawn to mow now and all these other things to do. And so that's enough for me to continue giving a ticket to a template Hollywood movie, as long as at least once a month, give me something that I really haven't seen before. And I think Hollywood's pretty good about that. Good enough. Because I think we have to, unfortunately, I think because of streaming and because of people just kind of they don't want to think about doing or watching something necessarily noble or deep at the end of the day. They want just something very familiar. I think good enough has to be good enough. And it pains me to say so, but it's just the way it is. I'm kind of realistic like that too.
Yeah. Well, back in the 90s, we had the indie revolution that kind of took over, with Tarantino and Kevin Smith and Soderbergh. Maybe knock on wood, hopefully we're at that point where Hollywood, where people are tired of the superhero movies, the Disney live action remakes, the sameness. Although, I mean, Toy Story 5 is doing well. Minions and Monsters, I think, is doing well. So I guess it's a hit and miss. I don't know if you can say, yes, this type of movie is always going to fail or not. But with the success of Obsession and Backrooms and some other low budget films over the last year, maybe we'll see another explosion, or maybe it will give the studios a sense that, hey, maybe we can put something out that doesn't have to be a known IP, and people will come and see it if it's good, if we can get the word of mouth.
And I'm hopeful, but and I also think that part of this conversation too, we have to take into account, and I think about this a lot because I was just listening to the Rewatchables, which is a podcast in which just 3 or 4 guys talk about a movie that they think is rewatchable. It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be bad. It's just like when it starts, you are in if you see it on TV. And one of the latest ones that they're doing is The Usual Suspects, and this episode happened to come out in 2020, so post Kevin Spacey, post Bryan Singer, scandals. But I don't. It's in this day and age. I think we have to talk about, and I don't know that we can ever go back. But anytime there's a twist in a movie, like you're going to know about it right away. Yeah. There's no keeping secrets anymore, and I think part of that is also the advent of the smartphone and how it's everywhere, and reviews are in our pockets, and movies are in our pockets, and I think it's so hard these days to challenge those templates anymore because everyone's attention span too is so limited, and it's sad. And like I don't have kids yet, but I am sad that they're not going to have that same giddiness that I talked about at the beginning of our conversation of going into the movie and being like, oh my God, I wonder what's around the corner in that dark room up there with that big screen, because they're going to have access to so many clips of a movie beforehand, and it kind of harkens back to my saying, like I really have to be proactive about shielding myself from previews and from ads and from all these things because they're everywhere. And like, I'm not stupid too because like I know that people are listening and following my cookies on whatever websites I go on, so my phone is constantly beeping things at me about movies. And I think we have to just also be honest with ourselves that we have to fight to still be fans. We have to fight to still be surprised, and we have to be proactive about shielding ourselves from whatever is giving too much away about a movie anymore. We have to find that magic again, and because it's not going to just be part of it. It's not part of the magic is not part of the formula anymore. I think we have to make our own magic in a way,
Yeah, no, that's a good point because exactly if this is the part of I guess the internet that I don't understand is that if there is a twist, if there's a surprise, instead of letting it go and letting the audience discover it, someone has to make a YouTube video about it or a TikTok or like, oh my gosh, you didn't see this coming, or in a message board, it'll be in the subject line instead of just instead of a spoiler. And it's like, where is that? Why are you trying to take that spoiler
Right.
away
What's
from
the value
someone.
add of that?
Yeah.
Right.
Why not
Yeah.
let people experience it for themselves, and then that adds to the fandom. Because I know,
Yeah.
as a wrestling fan, anytime someone leaves one company and goes to another company, or there's going to be a surprise, it's online hours in advance, or days or weeks, depending on time frame. And it's like, well, that would have been great for me to have been watching the show and just had it happen. But now I know that's there, so.
So what do you do? I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what, I'm very calculated in the way that I leave to go to the movies, like what time, so I don't run in any previews. I delete emails. Whenever anyone is in a restaurant or public space talking about a movie I know I'm going to see, I immediately veer off and go somewhere else. I don't want to hear it. So, here, do you have a couple of strategies that you do in order to kind of preserve your fandom and that surprise that we've been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, again, my biggest fandom right now is wrestling, and so I will try. If there's a show going on that I'm going to watch, I will go off social media until I watch the show, because I'm not going to. And I've had it spoiled in, checking my email, and the company will send out an email after and be like, "Oh my gosh, this just happened." And I'm like, "Cool, you couldn't wait 24 hours before you yourself." And then there's the debate of, well, if it happened live, is it a spoiler then, or should you have just been watching? It's like, that's open to debate, I guess. But yeah, I normally don't watch movie trailers unless I know I don't have a high interest in the trailer. So, for example, today the Avengers Doomsday trailer was released.
Sure.
That's where we're recording this, and I watched it just because I'm like, I probably will not go see it in the theater. But yeah, other than that, like Backrooms and Obsession, which I've heard people talk about, but I know very little about the films because, again, yes, I want to be surprised, and I think that's the best way. The sad part about that, though, is then how do you find out what movies you want to watch? How do you know? If are you judging solely based on a title, or if you know who's in it? If it's not a huge IP that you're familiar with.
Yeah. Well, honestly, what I do, and because I know that there's always going to be something I haven't seen at the theater, I will just go, and whatever is playing at the time that I get there, I'll go and see. Okay. And it doesn't matter if it's family, it doesn't matter if it's horror, it doesn't matter if it's sci-fi. So that's another way I kind of challenge myself too, as a critic, just casual critic, is, if this was my paid job and someone said, go review this movie because we're going to want it for the 6:00 edition, evening edition maybe, of a newspaper, like, you have no choice. And so you don't always, I don't think that you should always just, I would not want to always choose the easy option, the easy template option. And that's another way I just challenge myself in terms of being a casual critic too, is like, I've never heard of this movie. I have no idea what it's about. And I'll say that to Lior, my wife, all the time. Like, I have no idea what this movie's about. I'm just going to go in and see it. And then that's it. And then no questions asked. So, but I have to be proactive about that. So, it's just one of the strategies that I've picked up along the way. Yeah.
I remember back in 2013 when MoviePass launched, and I had MoviePass. I don't know if you ever had MoviePass.
I think it's back, isn't it?
It's back. I don't know. I haven't tried, because again, I don't go to the theaters often, so I haven't really thought about it. But at the time, because I had it, and I was like, I am going to make the most of it. So it was, again, I get addicted to something and then go too much. And I think I saw, in the year that I had MoviePass, counting double features, I think I saw around 400 films, because it was the same thing. Where at first it was like, okay, I'm going to go to the AMC's, the big major chains, and then you realize that, okay, there's 14 screens, but they're only showing 4 films because everything is on multiple screens now. So you're like, oh, I've seen everything. Okay, that's how I discovered the Lamley theaters here in California.
Yeah.
The independent, and I'm like, I have no idea what this film is about. I'm going to go see it. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that led me to seeing Frances Ha, which I think I walked out of like 3 different times because
Yeah.
it was just annoying. Yeah. But I also discovered some films that I would have never seen otherwise. And
Yeah.
and again, they're not necessarily great films, but they're, I would say, original or at least something different than what the big studios were turning out. And I remember,
So-
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask you, because during that time when you had Movie Pass, or when you watched those 4,000 titles,
Yeah.
um, I just want to ask you, is the magic still there for you? Like, that kind of giddiness of a Star Wars? Like, just the act of watching something, and are you able to be taken away? Or, I'll just be frank, are you scrolling your phone while you're watching movies?
It depends on the film. If it's
Okay.
something that I
Sure.
really want to see, and especially, I mean, if I go to the theater, phone's away, even if I'm the only person. Like when I saw Masters
Yeah.
of the Universe, there was one other person in the theater, and I was in the very back, he was down in front. I'm not going to be on my phone in a theater.
Sure.
But if I'm at home, if it's something that, especially when I was watching all the top 100, when I got to the 2010 through 19 films, which are all, when I was looking at the list, I'm like, well, I haven't seen these films because I don't want to see these films. You know, I don't
Sure,
need to see
yeah, fair.
Transformers 5 or, you know, and it's like, and so those were like, there would be ones where I just throw it on and it's more background noise than actually paying attention to it. Although there would be some films that I wouldn't start out paying attention to, but they would suck me in, and I would be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is a really good film." But that is the thing too, where I don't know the last film that I've truly got excited about. The last one that I can think of that after I saw it in the theater, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm going to buy this on DVD and make people watch it." Was Pitch Perfect. Because I really liked that.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
correction, the last movie that I saw at the theater that I bought the Blu-ray of, and I said I'm going to try to make people watch it, is Cats. Because
Right, yeah.
it is so terrible that everybody should be subjected to watching it and
Yeah.
trying to figure out how that movie got made.
Yeah. I saw that on my own volition. It was on HBO, I think, and
Oh.
the guy was like, "What are you watching?" And
I am pretty sure Ian McKellen had a stroke during one of the takes and they just left it in. It was,
that's a
Yeah.
puzzling one. Isn't Taylor Swift in that?
yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's
Yeah.
one that I had never seen the play. I'd always heard about it, like everything is better than Cats, and then I saw the movie, and I'm like, well, yes, everything is better than Cats because Cats is terrible. So
Yeah.
I don't know how it became a beloved and longest running Broadway
But
play.
it's funny though. You say like, "What is the last movie I was truly excited about?" I mean, yeah, Obsession was, in my opinion, just very well made, like on a production level and an acting level. So it got me really excited to talk about it. But in terms of a movie that, it's sad that it's hard to think of one off the top of my head. Like there wasn't like, just to throw out some popular ones from way back in the day. I remember seeing Michael Clayton in 2007 and being like, wow, a great movie. I can't wait to see that again. What else had come out? Life of Pi, if you remember that one, if you ever saw it.
Yep.
That was great. And just to name a few, but it's hard these days to really stand out. And I fear for that for young people. Like, what are they... I don't know how far off we want to kind of get into fandom, because fandom means so many things to so many people. And I'm afraid that fandom for young people now means TikTok. It means YouTube. It means Mr. Beast. Like, I not to like denigrate people who watch TikTok, but I fear that they're not getting like the same substantive fandom that we got. And I feel like that by Hollywood not being at the top of its game anymore, that it's selling all of it. We're all being kind of sold short, and I think that's what I'm trying to avoid in my life as a critic and as a movie watcher. Like, I don't want to sell myself short. I don't want to deprive myself of things that I have never seen, something that maybe came out 50, 40, 30 years ago. And I think we've just entered a point of no return that we have to really be seeking these things out, because I think that you probably just you get the gist of a movie on TikTok, but it's not the same, and I feel like people are just shortchanging themselves, and that worries me, and I hope that we can hold on to just viewing something and being completely focused on it, and I feel like we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, and I would say too, with TikTok, with social media, and even YouTube, the algorithms don't let you, in a way, dictate your own fandom. It says if you like this, then you're also going to like this, this, and this. And so instead of discovering something for yourself, maybe some things are being given to you. And because I am such an odd person at times, like if I tell you I like this movie and you say, oh, well, if you like this, then you're going to like this. Chances are I'm not going to like whatever you think I'm going to like. Yeah. Because I don't know if it's because it has to be something I discover, whereas if someone else tells me that it's good, then I'm like, no, I know better than you. I hope that's not the root cause of why I'm that way, but I don't think that I have a lot of if A, then B type likes. That's why my Amazon list is always weird.
Yeah, no, and like the way that I even talk to people about movies after I see them, like I really guard myself of saying words like "you should see this" or "well, you'd really like this," or I don't want to be that know-it-all, annoying guy in the room who just thinks he's like the biggest film buff of all time. I'm not, and I think. I think one of the things I like about film criticism, like I will go back to the humility thing. It just, it's for me, and if people read my stuff, great. If they don't, great. But I don't want to be that know-it-all in the room. You know how those certain people in a movie, like they want you to know what they know, and it's just okay. I get it. You don't have to broadcast what your knowledge of this movie or this genre or. Just kind of let it sit with you, maybe pass it along, but we don't have to be up in each other's faces about it all the time. And I remember Comic-Con 2007, where it still was just on the brink of exploding. It hadn't exploded yet. And I think that everyone could kind of sit in a room and be fans for the sake of being fans because it brought us pleasure. Now it's just like, we're so quick to want to just tell people about it and like hurry up and tell people about it. And I think there are certain friends that we share who do that, and and I just think that just let it fall on people. Let them. I think part of the joy was just this, like you said, discovering it for ourselves, and I feel like that is also kind of being missed these days, and I just
Yeah, and we're running towards the end of this, so this topic, try to keep short, but I think Fandom 2 is now, because it is so lucrative for studios, for collectors, markets, whatever. As a kid watching something, you just became a fan and you enjoyed it, and now everything is sold to you, and it's like, oh, you liked The Dark Knight? Well, look at this, replica Heath Ledger statue. You like this, you want this experience. You want this. Here's, the box set Blu-ray of everything. Everything has become collectible.
A package.
It's become a package, and I think that also. I mean, it's twofold. One, it helps the fandom because you're like, oh, I'm into this, but it also then makes the fandom, I think, more than just. How am I trying to say this? It's more than just the film or the actor or whatever. It becomes almost a lifestyle of oh my gosh, I have to do this. And
I think you nailed it right there when you said I have to do this.
I have to do this.
I think when it becomes like a checkbox, I think that's where you have to really be mindful that you're doing that. I'm checking this box because like I'm a fan, so I guess I have to do this. And I think that's just a road no one should be going down. It just kind of dilutes the whole pleasure of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what was it? I think I would liken it to, just to piggyback on what you just said, in that, let's say you're climbing a mountain, you're on vacation. So recently we went to Mexico City. We were over the pyramids in a hot air balloon. It was great.
Nice.
And people just wanted to keep, of course, taking selfies and showing where they've been, showing what they'd experienced. And like that to me, it's like pressing on the brakes of just like, can you just sit with this? Like, you don't have to take out your phone with everything you do. And I know, like, we've been saying this for, I guess, 20 years now since the iPhone came out, or 19 years. But, I think, just on the topic of fandom, I mean, you have to be mindful of that. You have to say, that's part of the equation now, but we have to be proactive about taking it out of the equation and just letting the joy and the magic fall on us again. And it's unfortunate it's come to that, but I think that we have to be doing that.
Yeah, good point. All right, so last question as we run down, because I said I was going to ask you about it real quick. Why is Cool as Ice an awesome film?
I will get back to you because the non-commentary version I can't find anywhere.
Oh.
I want to see the movie pure.
Okay.
Without the laugh track. And if you have a copy of it, I will pay for the mail. For the post office to send it to me. But do you have it on DVD?
I do not. Mike does have it.
I can't believe you don't have it on DVD.
Wow,
No,
because it
shocks me.
And again, I was trying to think about this earlier today. It's like I'm trying to remember when we discovered Cool as Ice, because I did not see it when it came out. And Mike DeCal, who's
when did
on
it come out?
1991, 92.
91, okay.
But Mike, who was on the first episode of Question Everything, he got it and ordered the DVD that came with the soundtrack CD. And so I don't know if he has a digital copy that he can share, but it is it's better than Cats. I'll say that.
Okay. Well, it's not a very low bar, but I will take it. Yeah, I want to see it. I can't believe that it's actually not somewhere.
I mean, there's a lot of films that I say, I can't believe this is not somewhere. Like it's Again, Midnight Madness, Disney, get that on some streaming platform. It deserves to be seen. So.
Yeah, and so many others too.
Yes.
So
anyway, Matt, thanks for joining me. It's been great catching up with you, and look forward to your next review. And until then, question everything.